is. This lounge isn't for ghetto trash like you. Security!
The words sliced through the air like a blade loud enough for every passenger in the SkyElite Airways Platinum Lounge to turn and stare. Victoria Hartwell, the senior guest services manager, didn't whisper her contempt. She announced it, her perfectly manicured finger pointing directly at Dr. Jasmine Brooks like she was identifying a criminal. Jasmine stood perfectly still in her gray hoodie and worn jeans, her first-class boarding pass still extended in her hand. She had just flown 18 hours straight from a humanitarian mission in Kenya, and all she wanted was a shower and a quiet place to prepare for an emergency board meeting. Instead, she was being publicly humiliated by a woman who had no idea what she had just unleashed. What Victoria didn't know was that in exactly 8 minutes, the woman she just called ghetto trash would fire her and restructure the entire company's policies on discrimination. Before we dive into this incredible true story, where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments below. And if you believe respect shouldn't depend on designer clothes, hit that subscribe button and share this video. This story will change how you see power and prejudice forever. Let's rewind to understand how this moment exploded into existence. Dr. Jasmine Brooks, 34 years old, was not your typical air traveler that Tuesday afternoon at Miami International Airport. Behind her tired eyes and casual clothes was a woman who held one of the most powerful positions in the aviation industry. She was a board member of SkyElite Airways, a $4.2 billion company that operated across 6 continents. Her PhD in aerospace engineering from MIT had opened doors, but her brilliant strategic mind had built bridges that transformed entire corporate cultures. Jasmine had just completed an 18-hour humanitarian mission in Kenya, working with her nonprofit organization to establish STEM education programs for young women. The trip had been grueling, filled with 12-hour days, minimal sleep, and the kind of exhaustion that settles deep into your bones. She had deliberately chosen comfort over appearance for the long flight home, pulling on soft jeans, a university hoodie from her alma mater, and her most comfortable sneakers. She wasn't trying to make a statement about the casual dress codes. She was simply a human being who needed rest. But as she approached the gleaming entrance of the SkyElite Platinum Lounge, she wasn't thinking about her board position or her net worth. She was thinking about the emergency board meeting scheduled to take place during her layover, the hot shower she desperately needed, and the business suit waiting in her carry-on bag. She had made this same journey through the same lounge over 50 times in the past 2 years. The staff knew her face, her preferences, even her usual coffee order. Or so she thought. Standing behind the marble reception desk was a Victoria Hartwell, a 42-year-old woman who had built her entire career on what she called maintaining standards. Victoria's blonde hair was swept into a perfect chignon. Her navy blazer was tailored to perfection, and her pearl necklace caught the light as she moved. She earned $85,000 annually, but lived as if she made twice that amount, maintaining an image of sophistication that she believed was essential to her position. Victoria had been with SkyElite for 8 years, working her way up from ground services to senior guest services manager. She prided herself on running the most exclusive lounge in the SkyElite network, and her definition of exclusivity went far beyond checking boarding passes. She had an eye for who belonged and who didn't, and she never hesitated to act on her instincts. In Victoria's world, the lounge was her kingdom, and she was its gatekeeper. She had turned away celebrities who weren't dressed appropriately, questioned the credentials of young entrepreneurs who looked too casual to afford first-class tickets, and built a reputation for protecting what she called the integrity of the premium experience. Today, that reputation was about to cost her everything. As Jasmine approached the desk, Victoria's trained eye immediately categorized her as a problem. Young black, dressed down, probably trying to sneak into a space where she didn't belong. Victoria had seen it before, and she knew exactly how to handle it. She had no idea she was about to confront her own boss. The SkyElite Platinum Lounge at Miami International Airport was buzzing with its usual afternoon energy. Business travelers typed furiously on laptops, families prepared for international flights, and the soft hum of conversations filled the space. It was 3:15 p.m. when Jasmine approached the reception desk, her boarding pass ready, and her expression neutral despite her exhaustion. Victoria looked up from her computer screen and Jasmine watched her face change in real time. The professional smile that had been in place for the previous guests vanished, replaced by a tight, disapproving line. Victoria's eyes swept over Jasmine from head to toe, lingering on her hoodie and sneakers with obvious distaste. "Can I help you?" Victoria's tone wasn't helpful. It was a challenge wrapped in fake politeness. "Good afternoon," Jasmine said calmly, sliding her first-class boarding pass across the marble counter. "I'm flying SkyElite 447 to New York, and I'd like to use the lounge facilities." Victoria didn't touch the boarding pass. She didn't even look at it. Instead, she looked past Jasmine as if searching for the real passenger Jasmine might be accompanying. "I'm sorry, but this is a premium facility for our valued clients," Victoria said, her voice carrying just far enough for nearby passengers to hear. "Are you sure you're in the right place?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Jasmine felt the familiar tightness in her chest that came with being questioned about her right to exist in spaces she had earned access to, but her voice remained steady. "I'm quite sure," Jasmine replied, tapping the boarding pass with her finger. "First-class ticket SkyElite 447. I've been using this lounge for over 2 years." Only then did Victoria reluctantly pick up the boarding pass, holding it between 2 fingers as if it might contaminate her. She scanned it into her system, and Jasmine watched her face tighten when the screen confirmed what she didn't want to see: first class, confirmed paid in full. Victoria's jaw clenched. She had been wrong about the ticket, but she wasn't finished. "I see," Victoria said slowly, placing the boarding pass back on the counter without sliding it toward Jasmine. "However, the SkyElite Platinum Lounge maintains a strict dress code to ensure the comfort and business-ready atmosphere for all our guests." She gestured toward a small silver-plated sign on the counter that read "Management Reserves, the right to refuse entry. Business casual attire required. No sportswear, tracksuits, or beachwear." Jasmine looked at her own clothes, then back at Victoria. "This isn't sportswear. It's a university hoodie and jeans. I've traveled in this exact outfit before and never had an issue." Victoria's smile returned, but it was cold and sharp. "Well, standards have been elevated recently. We can't have the standards of our premium environment degraded by inappropriate attire." The word "degraded" landed like a physical blow. Other passengers were beginning to notice the tension, their conversations quieting as they sensed conflict. "I'm simply coming in to use the shower facilities and change into my business suit," Jasmine said, her patience beginning to fray. "I have an important meeting during my layover." "A meeting?" Victoria's laugh was condescending. "That's very nice, but our policies are in place for a reason. Sportswear is not permitted regardless of your meeting." She said the word "meeting" like it was a lie Jasmine had told to gain sympathy. "This is not sportswear," Jasmine said, her voice still controlled but gaining an edge of steel. "And I am a paying first-class passenger who has every right to access this lounge." "Ma'am," Victoria said, her voice rising slightly, "you're causing a disturbance. I cannot permit you entry dressed like this. It's not the environment we cultivate for our clientele." The word we hung in the air like a declaration of war. Us versus them. People like us versus people like you. Ryan Martinez, the assistant manager, had been watching the exchange from his position at the concierge desk. He approached now, his expression uncertain, but his loyalty clear. "Is there a problem here?" Victoria Ryan asked. "Mr. Martinez, this guest is insisting on entry despite not meeting our dress code requirements." Victoria explained, her voice loud enough to ensure their conversation became a public spectacle. Ryan glanced at Jasmine, then at her boarding pass, then back at Victoria. "But she has a first-class ticket." "The ticket isn't the issue," Victoria interrupted. "It's about maintaining certain standards, certain demographics for our clientele's comfort." The word hung in the air like a neon sign. Several passengers had stopped what they were doing to stare. An elderly woman at a nearby table frowned and whispered something to her husband. A business traveler looked up from his laptop, his expression darkening. Jasmine felt the heat of humiliation rise in her cheeks, but her voice remained calm. I need to speak with your manager immediately. Victoria's smirk widened. I am the manager. I'm Victoria Hartwell, Senior Guest Services Manager, and I'm telling you that you cannot enter this lounge dressed like that. Then I need to speak with whoever is above you, Jasmine said. Mr. Henderson is in meetings all afternoon, but he would tell you the same thing, Victoria replied. The rules are the rules. We have to protect our brand from people who don't understand the level of service we provide here. People like me? Jasmine asked quietly. Victoria's pause was answer enough. People who don't meet our standards. The conversation had attracted the attention of David Romano, a 31-year-old tech blogger who'd been waiting for his connecting flight. He had watched the entire exchange with growing disgust, and now he pulled out his phone. This is unbelievable, he muttered, opening his live stream app. This is happening right now at Miami Airport. A black woman is being denied access to the first-class lounge despite having a valid ticket. Victoria noticed the phone and her expression hardened further. Sir, please put that away. This is a private matter. Discrimination in a public space is not a private matter, David replied, his viewer count already climbing as people joined his stream. Victoria turned back to Jasmine, her patience completely exhausted. Ma'am, you need to leave now. Security will escort you out if necessary. Are you seriously going to call security on a paying first-class passenger? Jasmine asked. I'm going to call security on someone who is refusing to follow our policies and causing a disturbance, Victoria replied, reaching for the phone. As she dialed, Jasmine took out her own phone. Her fingers found a familiar number in her contacts and she pressed call. Victoria watched with amusement as Jasmine waited for someone to answer. Calling your lawyer? She asked mockingly. Jasmine didn't respond. When the call connected, she spoke clearly and calmly. Michael. It's Jasmine. I'm at the Miami lounge and we have a significant problem. Victoria's smug expression faltered slightly when she heard Jasmine address someone named Michael with such familiarity, but she quickly recovered. Probably some civil rights lawyer, she thought. These people always knew someone who would threaten lawsuits over imagined slights. I don't care who you're calling, Victoria said loud enough for the growing crowd of onlookers to hear. Security is on their way, and you will be escorted from the premises. 2 SkyElite security officers appeared within minutes, their faces professionally neutral, as they approached the reception desk. Officer Martinez and Officer Johnson had responded to lounge calls before, usually for intoxicated passengers or ticketing disputes. But when they saw Jasmine standing calmly at the counter holding her phone and her boarding pass, they exchanged glances. Ma'am, we received a call about a disturbance, Officer Martinez said to Jasmine, his tone respectful but questioning. Officers. I'm a first-class passenger trying to access the lounge I've used dozens of times before, Jasmine replied evenly. Miss Hartwell is refusing me entry based on my clothing. Officer Johnson looked at the boarding pass Victoria had left on the counter. This shows first-class Miami to New York. The ticket isn't in question, Victoria interjected quickly. It's a dress code violation. We have standards to maintain. Officer Martinez looked at Jasmine's hoodie and jeans, then at the other passengers in the lounge. He could see at least 3 men in similar casual attire, including someone in a Miami Heat jersey and another in cargo shorts and a t-shirt. Ma'am, he said to Victoria, what exactly is the dress code violation? Sportswear, Victoria said firmly. We don't allow sportswear in the premium areas. That's a university hoodie and jeans, Officer Johnson observed. I see other passengers in similar attire. Victoria's face reddened. Those are different circumstances. How so? Jasmine asked quietly. Victoria's mouth opened and closed without sound. The answer she wanted to give couldn't be said in front of witnesses, in front of cameras, in front of security officers who were already looking skeptical. David's live stream had grown to over 300 viewers and the comments were pouring in. This is straight-up racism, one viewer wrote. Sue them into bankruptcy, typed another. Get their names and blast them everywhere, demanded a third. This is absolutely insane, David said into his phone. We're watching discrimination happen in real time. The woman has a first-class ticket and they're calling security on her for wearing jeans. Lisa Chang, a 25-year-old junior staff member, had been watching the confrontation from behind the departure boards. She had been with SkyElite for only 6 months, but she had seen Victoria's behavior before. The way Victoria's tone changed depending on who approached the desk. The extra scrutiny applied to certain passengers, the sudden enforcement of rules that seemed flexible for others. Lisa approached the group cautiously. "Excuse me, Victoria. Maybe I could help check the passenger," and Victoria whipped around. "Lisa, this doesn't concern you. Return to your station. I just thought you thought wrong. Go back to work." Lisa retreated, but not far. She had heard Victoria's comment about demographics, and it made her stomach turn. Meanwhile, Jasmine was still on the phone. "Yes, Michael, she called security to have me removed. Victoria Hartwell, Senior Guest Services Manager." She paused, listening. "No, I'm not raising my voice. I'm not causing a scene. I'm standing here, calmly, while being discriminated against." Victoria couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but something about Jasmine's tone was making her increasingly uncomfortable. There was an authority there, a confidence that suggested this Michael person was taking the situation very seriously. "Who exactly are you calling?" Victoria demanded. Jasmine looked at her calmly. "Someone who will be very interested to know how SkyElite's Miami Lounge treats its customers." "Are you threatening me?" Victoria's voice pitched higher. "I'm not threatening anyone. I'm reporting discrimination to the appropriate parties." An elderly passenger at a nearby table, Eleanor Morrison, stood up and approached the group. She was a tiny woman, probably in her 70s, but her voice carried the authority of someone who had spent decades in boardrooms. "Young lady," she said to Victoria, "I've been watching this entire exchange and I am appalled. This woman has done nothing but stand here politely while you humiliated her in front of everyone." "Ma'am, this is a private business matter," Victoria began. "Discrimination is not a private business matter," Eleanor interrupted. "I've been flying first class for 40 years and I've never seen such disgraceful behavior from airline staff." Other passengers began to speak up. A businessman closed his laptop and stood. "This is ridiculous. Just let her in." A mother traveling with 2 teenagers shook her head. "I can't believe what I'm seeing." Victoria looked around at the growing circle of witnesses, her confidence beginning to crack. This was not how these situations usually played out. Usually the passenger would get frustrated and leave. Usually other passengers minded their own business. Usually she maintained control. "Everyone needs to calm down," Ryan Martinez said finally. Stepping forward more assertively, "Victoria is just following company policy." "What policy?" Eleanor Morrison demanded. "The policy of judging people by their skin color." "That's not, we don't," Ryan stammered. "Then explain to me why 3 men in this lounge are wearing athletic clothing right now and none of them were questioned." Eleanor continued, pointing toward the casual passengers Officer Martinez had already noticed. Victoria's face was now bright red. "Those are established clients." "So you admit you apply rules differently based on whether you recognize someone," Jasmine said quietly. "I didn't say that. You just did." David's livestream viewers had climbed to over 800, and people were recording from multiple angles now. What had started as a private confrontation was becoming a very public spectacle. Michael, Jasmine said into her phone, "I think you need to hear this directly from Miss Hartwell." She looked at Victoria. "My colleague would like to speak with you." "I don't have to speak to anyone," Victoria replied. "You might want to reconsider that," Jasmine said, her voice still calm but carrying a new weight. "This is Michael Davidson." Ryan Martinez went pale. Even Lisa Chang from her position across the lounge sucked in a breath. Every SkyElite employee knew that name. Victoria's hand trembled slightly as she looked at the phone Jasmine was extending toward her. "That's not, you can't possibly be." "Speaking to the CEO of SkyElite Airways," Jasmine finished. "Would you like to tell him yourself why you called security on one of his customers, or should I explain the lounge had gone completely quiet?" Even the ambient airport noise seemed muted. Victoria stared at the phone in Jasmine's hand as if it were a venomous snake. "This is some kind of trick," she whispered. Jasmine switched the phone to speaker mode. A man's voice, crisp and professional, filled the silence. "This is Michael Davidson, CEO of SkyElite Airways. To whom am I speaking?" Victoria's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Officer Martinez stepped forward. "Sir, this is Officer Martinez with Airport Security. We were called to the SkyElite Lounge for a reported disturbance. Officer, thank you for responding. Can you please confirm that Dr. Jasmine Brooks is standing there with a valid first-class boarding pass for SkyElite Flight 447? Officer Martinez looked at the boarding pass again, then at Jasmine. "Yes, sir, first class confirmed. And can you tell me why she was denied entry to our lounge?" Officer Martinez looked at Victoria, who was now visibly shaking. "The staff member cited a dress code violation, sir. I see. Dr. Brooks, are you there? I'm here, Michael. Can you put me on with the manager who refused you service?" Victoria looked like she might faint. Ryan Martinez had backed away as if she had become radioactive. Lisa Chang was openly staring now along with every other passenger in the vicinity. "Dr. Brooks," Victoria whispered. "You're Dr. Brooks." Jasmine nodded silently. Victoria's world began to collapse in real time. "Dr. Brooks, I'm waiting to speak with the manager." Michael Davidson's voice carried clearly through the phone speaker, cutting through the stunned silence of the lounge. Victoria Hartwell stood frozen behind the marble counter, her perfectly manicured hands gripping the edge as if it were the only thing keeping her upright. The woman she had called ghetto trash, the woman she had summoned security to remove the woman she had lectured about demographics and standards, was Dr. Jasmine Brooks, board member, her boss, one of the most powerful people in the company. I'm Victoria Hartwell, sir," she managed to whisper into the phone. "Miss Hartwell, I understand you refused entry to Dr. Brooks based on a dress code violation. Is that correct?" Victoria's mouth opened and closed several times before any sound emerged. "Sir, I was following policy." "What policy would that be?" "The dress code policy, sir. We don't allow sportswear in the premium areas." "And you determined that Dr. Brooks was wearing sportswear." Victoria glanced desperately at Jasmine's hoodie and jeans, then at the other casually dressed passengers in the lounge. Her throat felt like sandpaper. "Yes, sir, I see. And in your 8 years with SkyElite, have you ever enforced this dress code policy on other passengers?" The question hung in the air like a trap waiting to spring. Victoria could feel the eyes of every witness boring into her. David's live stream had exploded to over 1,500 viewers, their comments scrolling by in an angry blur. Sometimes, sir, when necessary, Michael repeated slowly. "Dr. Brooks, can you describe exactly what Miss Hartwell said to you?" Jasmine's voice remained steady and professional. "She told me the lounge wasn't for people like me. She said I was causing degradation to their standards. She mentioned maintaining certain demographics for client comfort. And she called security to have me removed as ghetto trash." The sharp intake of breath from the gathered crowd was audible. Eleanor Morrison shook her head in disgust. Lisa Chang covered her mouth with her hand. Even Officer Martinez winced. "Miss Hartwell, did you use those words?" Victoria felt like she was suffocating. Every word she had said in anger, every assumption she had made, every prejudice she had revealed was now being broadcast to the CEO, to security, to passengers, to hundreds of people watching online. "I was trying to maintain the standards of the lounge," she said weakly. "That's not what I asked." "Did you use those words?" Victoria looked around, desperately searching for support that wasn't coming. Ryan Martinez had moved even further away, clearly trying to distance himself from the disaster unfolding. Lisa Chang was watching with a mixture of horror and fascination. The passengers were recording everything. I may have, in the heat of the moment, said things that were yes or no, Miss Hartwell. The simplicity of the question cut through all her excuses and justifications. Yes. The word fell into silence like a stone into still water. "Dr. Brooks, I apologize. This is completely unacceptable and does not represent the values of SkyElite Airways." "I know it doesn't, Michael. That's why we need to address it comprehensively." Victoria's blood ran cold at the word comprehensively. She knew what that meant in corporate speak. Heads were about to roll. Miss Hartwell, you are terminated effective immediately. Your access credentials will be deactivated and you are to gather your personal items and leave the premises. The words hit Victoria like physical blows. Sir, please I can explain. There is no explanation for discriminating against a passenger, especially a board member, based on their appearance or race. It wasn't about race. Miss Hartwell, we have witnesses and apparently video evidence of this entire encounter. Your employment with SkyElite Airways is terminated for gross misconduct. Victoria's legs nearly gave out. 8 years with the company. Her reputation, her career, her mortgage, her car payments, everything was crashing down around her in real time. But sir, I have a spotless record. You had a spotless record. Mr. Martinez. Michael's voice carried clearly through the speaker, addressing Ryan, who had been trying to blend into the background. Yes, sir. Ryan's voice cracked slightly. You supported Miss Hartwell's actions, correct? Ryan looked around frantically as if searching for an escape route that didn't exist. I was just backing up my supervisor, sir. It's what we're trained to do. You're trained to discriminate against passengers. No, sir, that's not. I didn't know she was a board member. So you would have supported the discrimination if she hadn't been a board member? The logic trap snapped shut around Ryan. No, sir, I didn't mean. Mr. Martinez, your employment is also terminated effective immediately. Ryan's face went white. Sir, please, I have a family. You should have thought about that before participating in discrimination against our passengers. 2 terminations in 5 minutes. The crowd was completely silent now, watching corporate justice unfold in real time. David's live stream had grown to over 2,000 viewers, with comments pouring in from around the world. Officer Martinez, can you please escort both former employees from the premises? Michael's voice continued. Yes, sir. Officer Martinez replied, though he looked uncomfortable with the rapid turn of events. Victoria's hand shook as she reached for her purse. This isn't fair. I was protecting the brand. You were damaging the brand, Jasmine said quietly. And more importantly, you were damaging people. Dr. Brooks, I'm ordering an immediate investigation into all lounge operations, Michael's voice continued. I want to know if this is an isolated incident or part of a pattern. Lisa Chang stepped forward hesitantly. Sir, this is Lisa Chang, junior staff member. Miss Chang. Yes. Lisa took a deep breath. Sir, there have been concerns about inconsistent application of policies. Some passengers are questioned more thoroughly than others. Victoria whirled around. Lisa, don't you dare. Miss Hartwell, you're no longer employed here, Jasmine said firmly. You have no authority over anyone. Miss Chang, I want you to document everything you've observed, Michael said. And, effective immediately, you're promoted to interim manager of the Miami Lounge. Lisa's eyes widened. Sir, I've only been here 6 months. You've shown integrity under pressure. That's worth more than years of experience without moral courage. Security began escorting Victoria and Ryan toward the exit. Victoria turned back one last time, her composure finally cracking completely. You people always pull the race card when you don't get your way, she spat. The lounge erupted. Eleanor Morrison stood up so fast her chair fell over. How dare you? David's live stream comments exploded with outrage. Even Officer Martinez looked shocked. Jasmine never moved, never raised her voice. She simply watched Victoria's final meltdown with the same calm dignity she had maintained throughout the entire ordeal. Miss Hartwell Jasmine said quietly, I didn't pull any card. I simply expected to be treated with the same respect you show other first-class passengers. The fact that this seems unreasonable to you is exactly why you're no longer employed. Victoria was escorted out, still protesting, her voice echoing through the terminal until the doors closed behind her. The lounge remained silent for several moments after she was gone. Dr. Brooks Michael's voice came through the speaker. Your usual table is waiting for you. The immediate aftermath of Victoria and Ryan's termination left the SkyElite Platinum Lounge in a state of stunned quiet. Passengers who had witnessed the confrontation were still processing what they had just seen. Phones, still recording conversations, still whispered. Lisa Chang stood behind the reception desk, her temporary promotion feeling both surreal and overwhelming. Dr. Brooks, Michael Davidson's voice continued through the speakerphone. I want to personally apologize for what you experienced today. This is completely contrary to our values and mission. I appreciate that Michael Jasmine replied, finally moving closer to the reception area that was now free of Victoria's hostile presence. But this isn't about an apology to me, it's about ensuring this doesn't happen to anyone else. Absolutely. Lisa, are you still there? Yes, sir. Lisa responded, her voice stronger now, despite the magnitude of her sudden responsibilities. I want all discriminatory signage removed immediately. The dress code policy is suspended pending a complete review. Every staff member in every SkyElite lounge will undergo bias training within 30 days. No exceptions. Lisa nodded, then realized he couldn't see her. Yes, sir. I'll coordinate with HR immediately. And Lisa, I want you to personally ensure that Dr. Brooks has everything she needs for her board meeting. Of course, sir. David Romano, still live-streaming to his now massive audience of over 3,000 viewers, lowered his phone slightly. Ma'am, he said to Jasmine, I hope it's okay that I recorded this. The world needs to see what just happened here. Jasmine turned to him with a tired but genuine smile. What's your name? David Romano. I'm a tech blogger, but this was bigger than anything I usually cover. Thank you for being a witness, David. Your video may prevent this from happening to someone else who doesn't have a board position to fall back on. Eleanor Morrison approached the group, her elderly frame moving with purpose. Young woman, she said to Jasmine, I have never been more proud to witness someone handle discrimination with such grace and power. Thank you, Mrs. Morrison. Eleanor Morrison. I've been flying for 60 years, and what that woman did to you was despicable. But watching her get fired, that was the most satisfying thing I've seen in decades. A ripple of laughter moved through the crowd of onlookers, breaking some of the tension that had gripped the lounge. Michael's voice came through the speaker again. Dr. Brooks, the board meeting will proceed as planned. Conference Room 3 is prepared with full video capabilities. Thank you, Michael. And I want a full report on this incident included in today's agenda. Already being prepared. As Jasmine finally moved into the lounge proper, Lisa Chang quickly set about removing the discriminatory signage Victoria had used as weapons. The dress code placard disappeared first, followed by several other posted policies that had been selectively enforced. Officer Martinez approached Jasmine before leaving. Ma'am, I want you to know that what we witnessed here today will be fully documented in our report. Ms. Hartwell's behavior was completely unacceptable. Thank you, officer. I hope this helps establish better protocols for handling discrimination complaints at the airport. Yes, ma'am. We'll make sure it does. Meanwhile, across the terminal, Victoria Hartwell sat in a bathroom stall crying into her hands. Her access badge had already been deactivated, her corporate credit card suspended. 8 years of employment had been erased in minutes. She pulled out her personal phone to call her husband, but couldn't figure out how to explain what had just happened. Her perfect reputation was destroyed. Her spotless record was now marked by termination for gross misconduct and racial discrimination. In the aviation industry, word traveled fast, and she knew she would never work for another airline again. Ryan Martinez sat on a bench outside the terminal staring at his termination paperwork. He had 3 children and a mortgage. His wife worked part-time, and his SkyElite salary had been their primary income. He tried calling his supervisor at headquarters, but his corporate directory access had already been revoked. Back in the lounge, Lisa Chang was handling her new responsibilities with remarkable composure. She had called HR, initiated the bias training protocols, and was personally ensuring every passenger felt welcome and valued. Dr. Brooks, Lisa said, as Jasmine prepared to head to the shower facilities, I want you to know that some of us saw what was happening, and we knew it was wrong. I should have spoken up sooner. The important thing is that you're speaking up now, Jasmine replied. Change doesn't always happen all at once. Sometimes it happens one brave voice at a time. David's live stream was now being shared across social media platforms. SkyElite discrimination was trending on Twitter. The video had been viewed over 50,000 times in just 1 hour, with comments pouring in from around the world. "This is why we need more diversity in corporate leadership," one comment read. "That woman handled discrimination with more class than I've ever seen," wrote another. "Fire everyone who was silent," demanded a third. Eleanor Morrison had taken it upon herself to approach other passengers who had witnessed the incident, collecting contact information for anyone willing to serve as witnesses if needed. Her business background had kicked in, and she was building a solid foundation of evidence. As Jasmine finally made her way to the shower facilities she had originally been denied access to, she passed the table where Victoria Hartwell had been sitting with her perfectly organized paperwork just hours earlier. A custodial staff member was clearing away her belongings: a half-finished latte, a company manual, a small framed photo of her family. The reality of what had happened was still settling in. A woman's entire career had imploded, not because of a business failure or economic downturn, but because she couldn't see past the color of someone's skin and the casual nature of their clothing. In the shower, finally alone for the first time since the morning, Jasmine allowed herself to feel the full weight of what she had experienced. The humiliation, the anger, the exhaustion of having to prove her worth in a space she helped govern, but also the satisfaction of knowing that her response would create lasting change. When she emerged 20 minutes later, refreshed and dressed in her business suit, the lounge felt different. Lisa Chang greeted her with a genuine smile and a perfectly prepared coffee. Other passengers nodded respectfully. The atmosphere was one of respect and inclusion rather than judgment and gatekeeping. "Dr. Brooks," Lisa said, "Conference room 3 is ready for your meeting. And ma'am, thank you for what you did today. Not just for yourself, but for all of us who believe in treating people fairly." Jasmine smiled. "Thank you, Lisa. And remember, you didn't get promoted because of what happened to Victoria. You got promoted because you showed character when it mattered." As Jasmine headed to her board meeting, David was wrapping up his live stream. "I don't know if you all understand what we just witnessed," he said to his camera. "This wasn't just someone getting fired for bad customer service. This was institutional change happening in real time. Dr. Jasmine Brooks didn't just stand up for herself. She stood up for everyone who has ever been judged by their appearance instead of their character." The board meeting proceeded as planned, but with an additional agenda item that would reshape SkyElite's policies across the globe. 3 months after the incident at Miami International Airport, the changes at SkyElite Airways had rippled through every level of the organization. What had started as one woman being denied access to a lounge had evolved into a company-wide transformation that the aviation industry was watching closely. Lisa Chang had proven herself exceptional as the Miami lounge manager. Customer satisfaction scores had reached record highs not because the amenities had improved, but because every passenger was treated with genuine respect and dignity. She had removed all subjective policies and replaced them with clear, objective standards that applied equally to everyone. "If you have a valid premium ticket, you belong here" became the new motto printed on elegant plaques throughout the lounge. Victoria Hartwell's fall had been swift and complete. Word of her termination had spread through aviation industry networks within days. Her discriminatory behavior, captured on video and witnessed by multiple passengers, had made her unemployable in hospitality or customer service roles. She had been forced to sell her luxury condominium and move back in with her parents in a suburb outside Orlando. She had tried to file for unemployment benefits, but her termination for gross misconduct made her ineligible. Her attempts to find legal representation for a wrongful termination lawsuit had failed when lawyers saw the video evidence and declined to take her case. Ryan Martinez had faced similar consequences. His participation in discriminating against a passenger, especially a board member, had effectively ended his career in the aviation industry. He was currently working the night shift at an airport parking garage, making less than half his former SkyElite salary. His wife had taken a full-time job to help support their family. But the real transformation was happening at the corporate level. Dr. Jasmine Brooks had spearheaded the development of new policies that went far beyond simple anti-discrimination training. SkyElite had implemented what they called the Dignity First initiative, a comprehensive program that addressed implicit bias, cultural sensitivity, and inclusive customer service. Every employee from ground crew to senior management was required to complete annual training that included virtual reality scenarios designed to help them understand the experience of being discriminated against. The program was so innovative that competing airlines had begun reaching out to SkyElite to license the technology. "We're not just changing our own culture," Jasmine explained to the board during a quarterly review. "We're setting a new standard for the entire industry." The financial impact had been remarkable. SkyElite's customer satisfaction ratings had soared, leading to increased loyalty and higher revenue. The company's commitment to inclusion had attracted new customers who had previously avoided airlines due to discrimination concerns. David Romano's video of the incident had been viewed over 2 million times across various platforms. He had parlayed the viral success into a partnership with civil rights organizations, using his platform to highlight discrimination in public spaces and corporate accountability. Eleanor Morrison had become an unexpected advocate for change. At 73 years old, she had used her extensive business network to promote SkyElite's new policies to other companies and organizations. Her witness testimony had been crucial in documenting the pattern of discrimination that investigators discovered at multiple SkyElite locations. The investigation that followed the Miami incident had revealed that Victoria's behavior was not isolated. Similar complaints had been quietly suppressed at lounges in Chicago, Los Angeles, and Atlanta. A total of 12 employees had been terminated and 15 others had received formal reprimands and additional training. But perhaps the most significant change was cultural. SkyElite had become known as the airline that not only talked about diversity and inclusion but actually enforced meaningful policies. Their recruiting efforts had attracted more diverse candidates and their employee satisfaction scores had improved dramatically. Dr. Jasmine Brooks continued to travel frequently for both business and her humanitarian work. She still dressed comfortably for long flights, often wearing jeans and hoodies. But now her choice of clothing had become a deliberate test of the changes she had helped implement. On a recent trip through the Miami lounge, she was greeted warmly by Lisa Chang and her team. A young black businessman, probably in his 20s, was checking in while wearing basketball shorts and a team jersey. He was processed quickly and efficiently with no questions about his attire or appearance. Dr. Brooks Lisa said as Jasmine passed the reception desk, "Your usual table is ready. And thank you again for everything you've done." "Thank you, Lisa, but remember, you're the one maintaining these standards every day. That matters more than any policy I helped write." The lounge that had once felt hostile and unwelcoming was now a model of inclusive service. Passengers of all backgrounds and dress codes moved freely through the space served by staff who had been trained to see customers rather than categories. As Jasmine settled into her usual quiet corner to prepare for another board meeting, she reflected on how much had changed. Victoria Hartwell had thought she was protecting her exclusive little kingdom by keeping out people who didn't look like they belonged. Instead, she had triggered a revolution that made the entire airline industry more welcoming for everyone. The irony wasn't lost on Jasmine. Victoria's discrimination had ultimately created more opportunities and better treatment for the exact people she had tried to exclude. 6 months after the incident, SkyElite Airways was named the most inclusive airline in North America by the Travel Equity Association. The award ceremony was held at a hotel in Miami just minutes from the airport, where everything had changed. Dr. Jasmine Brooks accepted the award on behalf of the company, wearing the same gray university hoodie she had worn that day in the lounge. "This award doesn't belong to me," she said in her acceptance speech. "It belongs to every employee who chooses to treat passengers with dignity, every witness who speaks up when they see discrimination, and every person who refuses to accept that's just how things are as an acceptable answer." The audience gave her a standing ovation, but Jasmine was thinking about Victoria Hartwell, wondering if she was watching, wondering if she understood now that the people like you she had tried to keep out were actually the people who could make things better for everyone. Change Jasmine had learned didn't always come from boardrooms and policy committees. Sometimes it came from a tired woman in a hoodie who refused to accept being treated as less than human. Sometimes the most powerful revolution began with someone simply asking to be treated with the same respect as everyone else. 1 year later, Dr. Jasmine Brooks walked through Miami International Airport wearing her favorite gray hoodie and comfortable jeans. She was returning from another humanitarian mission exhausted but fulfilled, and looking forward to the quiet comfort of the SkyElite Platinum Lounge. As the glass doors slid open, she was greeted by name by the staff, offered her preferred beverage, and directed to her usual table in the quiet zone. The lounge was bustling with passengers from every background, all being served with equal dignity and respect. Lisa Chang approached with a warm smile. "Dr. Brooks, welcome back. How was Kenya productive?" "We opened 3 new STEM schools for girls," Jasmine replied. "How are things here? Perfect. The new training protocols are working beautifully. We've had 0 discrimination complaints in 8 months. Jasmine nodded, looking around the space that had once rejected her. Above the reception desk, a subtle plaque read, "Excellence. In service means dignity for all." She had been denied a seat at the table, so she had redesigned the entire room. I've shared over 1,000 stories on this channel, but Dr. Jasmine Brooks's experience changed how I understand real power. Victoria Hartwell thought power was the ability to say no, to exclude, to judge. But Dr. Brooks showed us that true power is the ability to create change that lifts everyone up. The lesson here isn't just about fighting discrimination. It's about dignity. It's about recognizing that every person deserves respect regardless of how they look or dress. Victoria lost everything because she couldn't see past her prejudices. Jasmine changed an entire industry because she refused to accept being treated as less than human. Real leadership isn't about raising your voice. It's about raising the standard. If this story moved you, please hit that like button right now. It helps more people discover these powerful stories of justice and transformation. Share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that dignity isn't earned, it's deserved. And if you believe that respect should be a right, not a privilege, smash the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss a story. Drop a comment below and tell us about a time when you witnessed discrimination or stood up for what was right. Your story might inspire someone else to find their courage. Until next time, remember, you never know when the person you're judging might be the one who decides your future. Stay strong, stay dignified, and never let anyone convince you that you don't belong where you've earned the right to be.